Right, we got Gorov in the house. Gorov, good to see you.
Same here, sir. Pleasure meeting you all.
Pleasure, pleasure. Make sure we're just waiting on Tory and then we'll get going. And we have Tory as well. Tory, good to see you. Good to have you back.
Great to be back.
We've got the whole team now, so we can get started. So we've got Tory Green, our CEO. We've got Gorov, our CTO. We have Tausif, our VP of Business Development, and we've got some great questions coming in. Let's just jump right into some of the questions here. I'll go through the questions one by one. And then as you're getting questions throughout the discussion, feel free to drop those in the chat. If they're relevant to the question we're discussing, we'll address them right away. Otherwise, we'll try to address 3 or 5 questions towards the end of it. So let's get started. Gaurav, the first question I'm seeing is, what's the time frame for IO to be integrating SSD storage as well?
We're planning to do it in Q1. So this quarter, predominantly the focus is on giving new product offerings, new clustering technologies. That's the main plan. And the SSD and all these features will be part of the Q1 plan. Because at that time, like all the clustering technologies which we are creating, they all together can benefit from it. That's the plan on our side.
Perfect. Thank you for expanding on that. Next question I'm seeing, it's a bit of a long one. Question for the team and perhaps the AMA. Can we have a clear answer as to if workers that are online and ready but cannot be staked should still be turned online or disconnected until staking is opened up again? The quagmire is if the machines are online, the supplier is taking a hit electricity-wise, as well as the hardware depreciation-wise. Could we please get an answer on this?
Again, it's a tricky thing, right? Like we can't have an announcement made that like let's say that particular let's say for 2 weeks from future, we will open up the network for adding another 500 devices, and then like everybody who's sitting right now waiting in the queue, they all disconnect, and suddenly when like 2 weeks before the future date, they again start to queue up, and then a different person comes in the queue in front. Basically, whoever is there in the network basically loses. That's one. Secondly, it's not fair also if we say like just disconnect, right? Then like we have done all the combinations on our side. It doesn't work. Unfortunately, right now people have to wait in the network. What we are basically planning at our side is on a regular basis sharing the metric of a device and their uptimes and their like scores, so that respective device types can see the probability of they getting into the network. That is something which we are working on. It's kind of a leaderboard. Like for example, today we do share the proof of work and all the data for the device type. We already share it, right? We will structure it a bit more so that like if 4090s are there, then the scores are 4090s. Then people who are waiting in 4090s, they can see whether people who are already in the network, are they performing good or bad. If everybody is performing excellently, the probability of they getting into the network is comparatively lower, unless suddenly a demand comes in for 4090s, which is huge. And then for the benefit of the network, then we have to add those devices, which we don't have a view on until demand comes in. But without that variable of demand, at least people can see the respective device type and the people who are already in the network, that whether their chance is going to come or not. That leaderboard kind of thing, they're basically working on and will soon launch. That can help for sure. That's the first. But if people have other ideas, we are all for it. We've always heard the community. If you have some innovative ideas, please text here. We are more than open to hear them. And if there's some interesting ideas, we'll surely take them.
Thank you for your transparency there, Gaurav. We have a lot of questions coming in around staking as well. The next question I'm seeing, many members asking when is staking second phase and when we add more workers in which timeline?
So, as I informed last time, that our development work is finished, internal testing is finished. We are basically now giving it to the security team, and I think early next month it'll be live for everyone to share. The tricky thing which is coming in, and I'm very sure because I saw this question last week also in one of the chats where they're saying what will happen if none of the suppliers basically give a chance for people to come and participate. That meaning, like, if so let's say we have 10,000 workers in the network, and all 10,000 worker suppliers stake fully, then how will the co-staking people come in? So there are some changes which we are thinking of doing it. That if we do, may result in delaying it a bit. But for now, the plain like market-driven co-staking, meaning if supplier wants it, they will make an open offer to the community. Like those staking things uh, will be ready by early next month. We launched.
And Gaurav, is there a maximum limit for non-working staking, non-worker staking?
Maximum is obviously 100%. So let's take a step back. What we have done is currently we are coming up with a minimum staking requirement. So for example, let's say a particular GPU type needs 100 IOs to be staked on block rewards. So a minimum requirement for co-staking the supplier can give is he can ask any co-staker for giving him 10 IOs in return of 5% of the rewards he earned. That's the minimum requirement he has to give. That's minimum, right? The maximum he can ask any of the community members is 50% of the overall tokens a particular supplier has to like stake. For example, he was required to give 100 tokens. The maximum he can ask is 50. But in return of that 50 to be staked from the other person, what rewards he will give is totally market driven. It could be 20, it could be 50, it could be 80, it could be 90. We will not like try to poke around with that. That's a visibility and plan we have right now. So minimum requirement will be there, which is 10% of the co-staking for 5% of the rewards. Maximum co-staking requirement will be 50%. Reward percentage, what the supplier will give, will totally be market driven. We will not poke around with that thing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. You answered both of the next questions that were coming up regarding minimum and maximum. So that's great. The next one I'm seeing, you mentioned rewards just now. And the next question I'm seeing is, will extra staking reduce the amount of block rewards the workers earn?
So let me take a step back, right? We basically airdrop a certain number of tokens every month currently. Will that number of tokens will be increasing? The answer is like no. But will the person who is asking for co-staking from someone else, will their rewards be reduced? Obviously, yes, because they're asking somebody else to give them some coins so that they can be eligible for block rewards. So as a part of that contract, the earning for that respective GPU owner will reduce, but will the overall pool be reduced? That's no. That's a no.
We have a similar question. If it's too similar, let me know. Someone asked, if someone stakes on my worker and then unstakes, would I lose the block rewards during that 14-day cooldown period?
So what we have done is following. As of today in phase one, if let's say I own a H100, I have to stake 2,000 IO coins. When I unstake, it will be in the cooldown period of 14 days. And for those 14 days, I'll not be eligible for the block rewards. That's the state we are in today. In co-staking, how it will work, let's imagine that I have say H100, I want to stake 2,000. I do not have 2,000. So I make an offer to the community that give me 1,000, that is 50%, in return of 25% of the rewards. That's the offer I make. And there is a person, let's say X, who comes in, stakes, and we both start to earn block rewards. I earn 75%, the respective other person earns 25%. Everything works fine. When that person X will unstake, they will be having a lock period of 21 days. I, in phase one, have 14 days. They will have 21 days. And you will be getting a notification that the co-partner of yours have unstaked, and you have 7 days to find a new partner. In that, you can give an offer and find a new co-partner. For those 7 days, you will be eligible for block rewards. And only when that 7 days will be gone, then you will start to get an impact on your earning. I think we'll release more detailed documentation so people can go through it. But I'll again try to repeat because it's a bit complicated. When somebody co-stakes and that co-stakers unstake, their time period is 21 days. And for the first week, you will be eligible for block rewards. And in that week, you will get a notification and you can find a new partner to co-stake with you so that you don't get impacted at all.
Thank you for that in-depth example, Gorov. I think it simplifies it quite a bit. And let me know in the chat if this helped your understanding of the question as well. Gorov, the next question I'm seeing is, how can we have more staking if all devices are already staked?
That's the conundrum we have. So right now, the rewards to the suppliers, and like we literally took a hit as a network so that our loyal suppliers and contributors are basically getting good rewards. That's what we focused on. And what we are seeing is maybe we did a too good a job that nobody wants to basically partner and co-stake anymore. That's exactly what we are seeing. Like literally no one has come to us in past month or more that they want to have any help in staking. So that's a possibility. So we have some options. We are discussing it. I don't want to like share it here because they're still like not fully baked, honestly. So I don't want to share right now. But that's a fear we also have because the rewards are right now extremely good for the community. So there is a fear like this. So we are working on a plan we'll share. But in the meanwhile, honestly, like if the community has any ideas that if no suppliers wants to co-stake, what are the different options? I think we are more than open to hear. So please, like, I think we'll ask our marketing team also to open a thread on this in Discord, maybe, or ask a question. If you guys have ideas, please share. We've always been a community-driven project. So if you guys have innovative things, we'll be more than open to it.
Rob, I'm seeing one last question about staking. The question is, when stake will open for devices waiting for hardware space?
We are doing one more cleanup, I think, in a week from now. So there will be some more chances of adding to the network at that time.
Fantastic. Next few
Am I
questions
not
I'll
audible?
cover.
Somebody
Go
said
ahead.
in chat, can't hear. Like, am I not audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay.
And let me know if you can hear everyone loud and clear, myself and Gorov also. If you're having any audio issues, please let me know. I'm seeing a comment by Cryptic Enigma. Let's just make sure. Okay. Most people can hear us just fine. Let's go into some questions around network growth. So the question I'm seeing here is, how does IONET utilize decentralized infrastructure to enhance data privacy and security? And what are the biggest challenges you might face while scaling this solution globally? Tausif?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So yeah, I think this is a really great question because I think, it kind of gets to the heart of one of the things that a lot of partners and customers have talked to us about when we kind of come to them with a decentralized infrastructure, sort of like compute solution, right? Like obviously, with centralized compute, the idea of sort of data privacy and security is fairly straightforward because, the centralized provider there has full end-to-end control around that. And there isn't sort of like this aspect of like, hey, where's my data going? Is it secure when it's sort of spread out across the variety of different devices globally? So luckily, I think, we kind of have we kind of exist in a time where a lot of these decentralized privacy enhancing and security enhancing technologies have made tremendous amount of progress in the tech, and are very applicable to what we're building here at IONet. So I think, as some of you guys have already seen out there, we've partnered with a variety of sort of security and privacy players in the Web3 space, most recently being Solid Network, who are one of the leaders in sort of like the confidential computing and TEE space, which stands for trusted execution environments. So TEE is kind of like one of the sort of solutions that we're looking at, but we're also looking at other partners who are offering other forms of sort of like data security and privacy, whether it's in the form of like zero knowledge proofs or fully homomorphic encryption, but essentially by leveraging partners that are pushing forward the space of this technology a lot in partnership with IO, we can go to market with sort of solutions that kind of provide an end-to-end sort of security and private offer for computing when it's integrated with FHE or TE or ZK. So as sort of our customers sort of like computing workloads spread out across a more decentralized global scale, we could sort of bake in these different pieces of confidential compute as part of their workload and tech stack to ensure that they can meet sort of data privacy and security requirements, whether that's in sort of like financial services or healthcare or sort of more regulated industries that start to explore the benefits of decentralized compute.
Thanks for expanding on that, Tausif. I'm seeing some questions coming in the chat around asking follow-up questions. And yes, please do post your questions while you're listening to the discussion, just so it's top of mind. And towards the end of our Q&A, we'll try to address all the questions that you have, just to keep it a bit more streamlined here. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Next question I'm seeing is around growth. So what is the target growth the company's looking for till the end of the year? Tory, you want to expand on that?
Sure. It's tough in the early stages of a scale-up company like ours to really come up with growth targets, or especially publish growth targets. So, we have some internal idea, but we're not sharing that yet. But if you look at the past 3 months, growth has just been crazy. I think we've 10x'd our daily earnings over the last 3 months. Last I checked on the Explorer, we're doing 25,000 in daily earnings a day, which is just, there's no one else in the decentralized market that's coming anywhere close to that. So we don't have official targets, but we do expect I don't know if we're going to keep 10xing every 3 months. I mean, that would be crazy, but we do expect to keep a very aggressive pace here.
Perfect. We've got a question around Q4 as well. The question is IONet currently in Q4, and are the main initiatives in Q4 likely to be realized?
Well, Q4 just started, so we're only a couple days into Q4, so it's tough to tell that. I can say that Q3 just ended, and we did hit all of our goals. When we ask about I know this wasn't in the question necessarily, but I will share this. When you sort of ask about what our initiatives are for each quarter, the initiatives rarely change quarter to quarter. Some of the targets may change, but I'll refer everyone back to the state of the network, because that's kind of the source of truth for the company. That provides the roadmap of where we've been and where we're going. And once again, the initiatives for this quarter are really the same as every quarter. It's to continue to drive revenue growth. As I mentioned, we were doing a couple thousand a day at the beginning of Q3. Now we're doing over 25,000 a day. At the end of Q3, beginning of Q4, we expect this to keep going up. It's continuing to improve our platform. We have a lot of cool products that will be released coming up over the next months, quarters. Our service just continues to get better and better. Our cluster stability is consistently well above 95%. It's continuing to involve the community, do things with you guys. I know we've got a lot of cool stuff going on in local events. We've got a lot of cool stuff going on with the astronaut program, and it's continuing to hire. We actually, on the revenue side, we're about to close on several offers for several key both solutions architects and account executives. from some major Web 2 companies. And we also are bringing a lot of people on the marketing team. So you're going to see our name a lot more out there.
Fantastic. And we also have a question, Tory, come in about the adoption rate. It says, what is the adoption rate of the company since launch?
I'm not quite sure what they mean by adoption rate. That could mean 100 different things. If someone has a specific question on metrics, you can just go on the Explorer and you can basically see every metric. It's there available publicly.
Got it. The next one I'm seeing is, when will we see the promised in all caps roadmap for the next 3 months?
We will be releasing a roadmap. Hopefully sometime this quarter. Perhaps it may also be early next quarter. We do have the roadmap pretty close internally, and we will be releasing that.
Okay. Stay tuned for that one. And one more question, a bit of a longer one. Considering the goals of IONET, what are the thoughts on whether the project is currently where it was aimed to be? Are we on track with our goals, or are we a bit behind, or have we surpassed our targets? What does the team think about this? And if they were to critique themselves, what points would they critique?
So I would find it, like, I obviously have very ambitious goals. So I'll start with the second part first. I have very ambitious goals. As I've stated before, I want to take down Amazon as the leading provider of cloud computing services. Now, that's going to take many, many, many years. And so if I were to critique anything, I'd say, we have a very long way to go to get there. But in terms of asking if we're on track of our goals, I mean, it's hard to say we're not. I think we're blowing them away. If you just sort of step back and think that this company is basically a year old, and we have, in the last year, we've managed to raise 40 million from investors. We've managed to do a day one launch the foundation has managed to do a day one launch on Binance. We've basically managed to build the world's largest decentralized AI network. We're consistently, in terms of top 3 mind share on services like Cato. We are doing more verifiable daily earnings, like orders of magnitude more verifiable daily earnings than any decentralized player in the space. We have more verified GPUs than anyone in the space, once again, by an order of magnitude. Our daily earnings are growing, like I said, 10 times over the last 3 months. I just can't think of. I've been blown away by the progress of the team, and a lot of this is because we do have such an amazing team, like with Tausif and Gorov and the marketing team under Hans and Milan. I think we are crushing every goal we've set for ourselves. Our investors are very happy. The community seems to be very happy. So most of the feedback I'm getting from people is just, keep your foot on the gas.
Fantastic. Looks bright. Thank you so much for that, Tory. The next few questions I'm seeing are around AI technology partnerships and user experience. So Tausif, the next one's going to be for you. The question is, any news about partners? There are no cluster jobs on A100s and H100s, only test clusters. Any thoughts?
So I think this question might be a little bit like outdated, because I would actually recommend that people take a look at our Explorer page, and to kind of, on Tory's points of just how we've seen the growth on our total network earnings and daily earnings as well over the past few months. There's actually several cluster jobs that are live right now that are committed for a significant period of time across a variety of different GPU types, right? So I think looking at the Explorer page today, we have about 14 clusters that are production ready, that are being used by our partners and customers across A100s, H100s, 4090s, and L40Ss. So this question might be a little bit outdated. That number is only going to keep going up from here. I think if anyone is sort of unaware of exactly what our utilization or our GPU usage is, I'd recommend looking at the Explorer page for the latest information, where you'll see all the A100s and H100s that are being used right now by our partners and customers.
Yeah, and I think the number of clusters, guys, to be honest, is also could be confusing, right? Because some of our customers are basically big enterprises. So when they give us the orders, they're big clusters overall. Like for instance, somebody just pasted in the chat, and I just confirming, and he's true. We literally have 3 H100s and like almost like 8, 9 A100s cluster right now live online. So whoever is saying it, I haven't checked the Explorer from some time. And I literally saw when I was checking last week, a new almost 1200 to 1400 4090s clusters being created also. So these are basically like big demands coming. So if you take a look at the number of clusters, they may not look many, but if you dig down a bit inside, you will see these are huge clusters. Like I literally saw 1200 to 1400 4090s being hired recently. Tausif, is the number correct? Like that's what I remember from my memory.
Yeah. It's 1440, 4090 spread out across, I think, 6 or 7 clusters.
So yeah, so guys, like first of all, there are A100 and H100s, and secondly, don't get confused by the number of clusters. Some of these clusters are literally huge clusters, and some of the customers are coming to us because we are one of the very few platforms which can handle these big clusters overall. So yeah.
You see here, I want to hop in here for a second. I'm reading the questions in the chat, and one caught my eye. It was from Arturo Y. He said, "Do VCs interfere in daily decisions?" That's a strange way to phrase that question, and it sort of begs the question. Our VCs, just to be clear, have zero control over what IONET does. They are just, in my mind, another source of advisor. For instance, we have a lot of Web 2 VCs as well as Web 3 VCs, and I do rely on these guys a lot for actually assistance with the business. The Web 2 VCs have been very helpful with recruiting great candidates for the revenue side. They've brought us clients. So in my mind, our VCs are really they're an advantage for us. They're able to sort of help us tell what's going on in the market. They're able to help us make connections with customers. But just to be unequivocally clear, the VCs have no controlling interest. And so, IONET will always do what's best for the community. And the VCs, I mean, they're not advocating to do otherwise, but there's this whole idea of like a VC controlled coin is kind of a meme at this point. That, if they were interfering, we would just ignore them.
No, I can double down and confirm on that. Like in tech side, they've never been interfering, and they've never been like just more supportive. For example, like hiring a smart contract engineer is not that easy. A good one. There are some in the market, but hiring a good smart contract engineer is hard. Similarly, hiring like these companies where you can actually like audit and security review is also a good one to find is hard. And especially the good ones have a lot of customers in pipeline. So they may not even work in your timeline. So like in past, these VCs have been helpful us to push like some of these good candidates to us, and we interviewed and we got few because they are like very, very connected. And secondly, even getting us leads of this good third party security audit and all these companies. They've nothing just been more supportive and never been interfering. Like I can like literally vouch for that.
That clarifies it. Thank you for jumping in and clarifying that. I appreciate it. Next question I'm seeing, does IONET have the same sales team for high-spec and low-spec GPUs, or would it be more efficient to have separate sales teams for the different areas of use? Tausif?
Yeah, so I think this is an interesting question. And, a couple different ways to approach it. So I think just to kind of answer the question up front, so right now it is the sales team across all our GPU types, right? But the question of would it be more efficient to have separate sales teams is one that's it's a really good one, and I think it kind of speaks to sort of maturity and stage of product market fit, right? Like in terms of when we make those decisions about sort of specializing sales teams. So when I was at AWS before joining IO, I was doing strategic partnerships, BD, helping out the sales team a lot on that side as well. And typically, kind of when it comes to enterprise sales, you want to think about, from a customer perspective of like, how do you segment the sales team to focus on specific types of customers or customer problems? So, we would typically look at sort of segmenting based on like region or geography, or segmenting sales teams into specific types of use cases or workloads that customers were deploying, or in terms of specific verticals or industries, right? So you can have a really sort of honed in sales team that's specifically focused on solving exact customer problems that are relevant within that geography or use case or vertical. So I don't think at this stage we're at a particular stage of maturity where we need to segment the sales teams, especially when it comes to high spec or low spec GPUs. And I think kind of this idea of high spec and low spec GPU separation is almost like a different way of saying, it's like, hey, do you need to segment the sales team by use case, right? It's like, obviously higher spec GPUs might be really AI ML intensive workloads, while low spec GPUs might be some lower level like sort of inference workloads and things like that. So I think it's something we'll consider in the future, especially as we're scaling the sales team up now. But I think at this phase, we haven't felt the need to sort of, go into that level of segmentation with the sales team as we're still early. There's tons of demand, and, there's a lot of different GPUs across a variety of different GPU types to sell.
Appreciate the clarification there, Tausif. We'll end with one last question around the user experience. So, Gaurav, this one is for you. Will we have a dashboard to view real-time information about availability and key dates of the month? Information open to the public? Question mark.
Yeah, so I think some of the guys may not be aware. We share our proof of work and the network health and network information already on an hourly basis. We also are now investing in giving more and more real-time data about the aspects like staking also going forward. So this quarter, we are investing in a staking dashboard, that how much money is staked and all, even that. But in terms of the hardware, the live status of the hardware, all these we are already pushing out in the public forum, which people can consume. And even we have a couple of APIs which are open to people, which they can hit and get the respective information for any hardware, which is like the latest information available in the system. We are already doing it. Maybe it's not available to like the public knowledge. So I take the feedback. I can create a small document around it and share it as a part of the docs.
Thank you for that, Gaurav. That would be fantastic. And that was the final question that we had submitted. So let's get into some of the questions coming in from the chat. I know the chat was very active during the discussion. Team, are you seeing a question that you'd like to answer? Pick one and go with it.
I think there is one which is a fair question to ask. The question is the September block rewards for the first week where we are supposed to give the bonus block reward. When is that? We will do that very early next week. We will have it separately. Guys, fingers crossed, no commitments, but I'm very, very hopeful that even the first 15 days of the month of October, I might work on getting that also next week as well. So I'm already working on that automation. It's kind of almost finished. If things work fine, for the first 15 days also, you'll have it next week. And the first week of September, the bonus one, that you will surely have early next week.
Fantastic. Tausif, Tory, any other question catching your eye in the chat?
Nothing popping out from my end. I know there's some technical questions here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any sort of revenue sales sort of BD related questions either. So
So there's a question there that are we actually planning to drop any Mac workers entirely from the network considering there's no demand? The answer is no. We are not doing that. There is a possibility, we haven't made a decision on it, but there's a possibility that percentage of that might reduce, but we will not be removing the Mac workers in near-term future. In fact, our main focus in Q4 is creating products and more cluster offerings and adding more value chain added products in the AI layer. That's what we are investing in. Once that is done, uh, we have some plans of creating products around Mac workers also in the future, which will bring more usage there. In terms of the network earnings and all, obviously, as a business, you earn more money from GPUs. That's where our first focus is. But the moment like these things start to become more matured, which they are, and that's why you're seeing this exponential growth in revenue. I think very soon you will see us focusing more on Mac workers, products on that side, and their usage also increasing. So the answer is no. We're not going to remove Mac workers for sure in the near future.
A couple of more, and then we'll wrap up our Q&A for today. Anything else you're seeing, Gorov?
Nothing, sir, which is like popping up. Most of the questions were already answered.
Okay.
I just want to say, keep these coming. I've said it time and time again. Being a Web3 project, like having this community is such a huge advantage because no Web2 project has this, right? Like Amazon is not really, Amazon, GCP, Azure, they're not really out there with the community. And that makes them slow, it makes them stodgy. But coming in here, hearing from you guys, like talking to you guys every week, hearing comments from you every day, it allows us to be flexible and it allows us to build what we need to build, see where the market is going. And so I kind of look at all of us doing this together to take those guys down. So please, please, please keep these questions and feedback coming.
Beautiful. Folks, with that, let's wrap up our AMA for today. IO Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your questions. As always, we're going to have another one next week. Milan should be back to host that one. Appreciate your time and attention, folks. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Take care, everyone.